Hello friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are ranking all the Mad Men characters. As you can see from my profile picture, I'm a huge fan of Mad Men. I watched the whole series maybe 7 times over the last 10 years or so, always from the first episode to the last. So make yourself some coffee like I did, or tea, or get something to knit or crochet or something, and let's start. Let's start chatting Mad Men. And if you disagree with me, well, you're wrong, yeah? Or write it in the comments why you're not. Okay, we have 7 tiers here. First one is Heinz or Hilton. These are for the characters who are so iconic that other shows just dream about getting or writing a character like that. Another tier is Corner Office. It's like it would be pretty hard or impossible to run the show without these characters. Third tier is I have ideas. Yeah, very often Pete's line, which are for characters who are not as important as these ones, but still they contribute a lot to the show. Fourth tier is switchboard operators. It is for the characters who are not bad, but it's like they exist only to show some particular topic of that era or just to make more historically accurate storylines or something like this. You'll see. Next tier, not great Bob, is about characters that are not great. Even next, the lower tier is cheap and deep, so it's characters that could be replaced. And last one, I'm not sure if any character would go here, by the way, but still, I got to tell them the elevator doesn't work. Okay, and we have a strong candidate right away. First character we have here is Salvatore Romano, poor guy, yeah? I think this is his tier. This tier was created for him, maybe. You know, the only storylines and arches that we have for Sal is about that he is gay. If you think about it, there are no storylines that don't evolve around that. Maybe the one where they break into Cooper's office, but even that scene is like when he gets a crush on Kim. Yeah, so I'm sorry, Sal, you're a great character, but you only exist to show homophobia of the time and also how Dawn feels about gay characters, which is normal unless it's a danger for business. In this case, he fires them. Next, speaking about firing, is Ellison. Yeah, he didn't fire her, but oh, poor Ellison. Do you guys like Ellison? I think I would be friends with Ellison. I would want to be friends with Ellison. I probably have friends like Ellison, but don't like not destroy, but like he kind of ate her. Yeah, you know what I mean? She's not as clever as Megan. I think Megan got a little bit stupider when she was married to him, but before Megan was really, really conniving even. Ellison wasn't. Ellison is much more naive. Could be any other secretary in her place, I think. Yeah, okay. All right, Michael. Wow. I don't think there is a show out there that includes character like Michael. Michael goes to Heinz or Hilton straight away. Michael is so important for the show. He is at some point the kind of alter ego of Dawn. He's very much like Dawn, right? Michael and Glenn are like other versions of Dawn, don't you think? Michael has a very weird and very hard past. Michael is talented in advertising. Michael is much more talented. And it is like put very straightforwardly that Michael is much more talented than Dawn in advertising. The famous elevator scene where Dawn is like, I don't think about you at all. Of course, Dawn like thinks about him 24 hours a day at that point because he's so envious and Michael makes him so insecure. So Michael goes to Heinz or Hilton. All right, this girl, well, not a great story, honestly. I think they had to give Dawn some sort of teacher. It had to be someone from the suburbs where they live because it binds several storylines together. Remember, they had a storyline at the time about Grandpa Jean dying and Sally dealing with this. And then later Betty learns about Dawn's past. It definitely made the scene more tense that some woman was waiting in the car at the time. So I think it could be anyone. It had to be someone from their place, but not a neighbor because they already had a storyline with a neighbor. Not I don't know, maid. That would be, I don't know. Yeah, why not? But they chose a teacher. I think she could be replaced. I think honestly, I'm sorry, but I think this storyline could be done better. Oh, Joanne. Joanne has the most character development in the series, don't you think? She has the biggest arc. She changes from the beginning to the end much more than Peggy does, and definitely much more than Dawn does. Joanne starts out as someone who really wants to leverage her looks in this day and age that they are living at. She is very vehement about it. It's like her values. Yeah, she's very outspoken kind of about it. Remember that, like, put a plastic bag on your head and look at yourself in the mirror, Peggy, and then let's show these ankles. And in the end, she's basically an independent businesswoman. She's like the icon of feminism in the best way possible. So she's Heinz or Hilton. Okay, who is this guy? Oh, it's Abe. Abe, first serious boyfriend of Peggy. I think Abe is pretty important for Peggy's character development, isn't it? It's like her first New York boyfriend, very cliche in a way for New York, isn't he? Like a Jew and a sort of artsy guy. I don't know. And he has some character building himself, but not so much. It could be somebody else, honestly. So let's put it here. I'm not sure if I shouldn't like switch up these tiers between each other. Should I? I don't know. But let's put him here. He's not a bad character, but he could be. Okay, let's switch. Yeah. I think these characters are not bad characters, but they definitely could be replaced by some other characters. Oh, Freddy. Freddy has some qualities of a switchboard operator type of character, because his storyline in the beginning definitely serves this idea that advertisement is a very cruel world. Yeah, he becomes a drunk, but then he recovers, which is also some comment on that anyone can recover, I guess, from alcoholism. Maybe even Dawn. Maybe it's foreshadowing. I'm just thinking now. Maybe it's foreshadowing Dawn's sort of. Oh my god. I think it's a foreshadowing that Dawn will also spring back up after the show's finale. He definitely will. I mean, he created Coca-Cola ad, yeah? So Freddy, let's put Freddy in I Have Ideas. Yeah, feels right. Rachel, wow. Rachel, like everyone, honestly. Rachel, like almost everyone on the show, of course, serves just to make Dawn's storyline more richer. It's like his utopia, yeah? Something that he yearns for but can't get. If he got her, she wouldn't have been utopia, though, right? So Rachel goes just out of respect for Dawn. I think she should go into a corner office just because, like, Dawn's character is very much reflected through his relationships with women, and she's like the most important woman in his life. So yeah, let's put her into corner office. Oh wow, Harry. I like Harry. I don't know. I know you guys hate him. Remember how he went out of the room crying during the commercial? Remember how he told Dawn the story about like handprints? I don't know. Harry is so realistic though. I think Harry exists in a huge quantities now. I feel like every like 30-year-old man right now is like 30% Harry or 50% Harry. Harry transcends time. Oh my god, this is an ode to Harry. I'm putting Harry into I Have Ideas. I don't care. Harry is weirdly an inspired character. Yeah, like fight me in the comments. Bobby freaking Barrett. Doesn't she just make you physically sick? And it's not because they had this like kind of gross scenes with Dawn, but in general, as a person, she makes me sick. But it's not about me. Let's see how important is she for the show. She's definitely much more important in a way to Dawn than we think, I believe. Like, can you like imagine Dawn on his deathbed? Yeah. Who does he remember? Rachel, of course, Betty. I'm not sure he's actively thinking of Megan. I think at some point, honestly, Dawn forgets her name. I'm not sure he thinks of that poor heroin addicted artist. Of course, she doesn't remember Allison at all. She doesn't remember anyone. Faye, I'm not sure. But I think he remembers Bobby. I think they had some sort of chemistry that is so primal, and he remembers her. So Bobby Barrett goes into I Have Ideas. It's one of the earlier seasons, isn't she? And we learn something about Dawn through her. All right, Henry. Oh my god, we should all marry Henry, shouldn't we? Like, that's the only way. Henry is like opposite of Don. Betty is so lucky. Maybe it's because he's coming from like good blood, or how do they say this, from like aristocratic lineage. That's why he doesn't have all these insecurities that Don has. So Henry like handles Betty, which is not easy, and Sally, and his mother, and his daughter, and his like office. Oh, Henry, you should get an award. I think we should put Henry into I Have Ideas. It definitely says something about Don and Betty's marriage that she meets him. It's definitely for a reason that she marries Henry, not somebody else. Yeah, that's the only man she could marry. Yeah, she couldn't marry. She had to sort of overcompensate, I guess, for Don's like roots, and she had to overcompensate for Don's abuse, I guess, cheating. So she chose Henry, and she had the looks to get him. Great, Betty, good job. All right, this guy, I'm in love with him. That's my love. Yeah. Okay. Betty. I mean, Betty goes into Heinz or Hilton, I guess, which Megan will not, but Betty does. Betty definitely. I think Don loved Betty. Honestly, Don didn't love Megan. Maybe for a very short time, but Betty, I think he loved after the divorce. He's like shattered and after learning about her illness. And Betty is like a fully developed character. She's not a great person. She's not even an interesting person. She would be very hard to be friends with, don't you think? But she is so realistic. I mean, it's like a woman. Yeah, she's not just a character. She's a woman. So honestly, I think Betty deserves to go here. In a way, Betty deserves to go here more than Dawn. I don't know people like Dawn, but I think I know people like Betty. Okay, he's an entertaining character, isn't he? Bobby Barrett's husband, the comedian. I like the story with like a plus size lady who is the wife of the sponsor, and all this thing, and he's like, and what a cool actor! What cool roles he picks! Like, wow. Where do we put him? I think we put him into I Have Ideas. I think almost everyone who works in TV wouldn't mind. Secretly dreams of, maybe not secretly, dreams of writing character like this. I think so. All right, poor old Ken without his eye. Remember his step dance? I do from time to time. Ken is like Harry, but has a little bit more personality. We can't put him into switchboard operators. He has a full story. He's very lifelike, I feel. So let's put him into I Have Ideas. I don't think he fits here. Okay, Megan. I'm torn between Corner Office and I Have Ideas. So, all right, let's put her into Corner Office. But purposefully, she wouldn't be here. I wouldn't even consider for her to be here. I think she means for Dawn in the long run much less than Betty does. And in general, honestly, I think her character is not, sounds a little bit like blasphemy, I'm sorry, but her character is not that well written. I think she starts out as a very clever woman, like she gets Dawn, she like gets to marry Dawn, not because Dawn just picks her because of her looks, but she is very clever about it. Do you remember all those scenes? But then she gets so spoiled, she takes all this for granted. Maybe because she is kind of talented in advertisement in terms of creativity, and that makes Dawn a little bit even more infatuated with her. Infatuated, but not in love. That's not the reason. I think she is mistaken about that. Creativity is not the only thing, and maybe not even the first thing to get to make it in advertisement. I think the whole show is about it. Yeah, Michael is more talented than Dawn, but he ends up, we know how. Sylvia, what a great actress, Linda Cardellini. What a sort of dark, muted, demure season. Yeah, all this snow and skiing, and like, come to my office, I'll get you a Leica photo camera, and like all these cigarette butts near the elevator or near the back door. Oh, how beautiful. Sylvia will go into I Have Ideas. Oh, okay. I like this comment in one of the videos somebody wrote. Like, there is a scene where Don learns about how he borrowed money illegally from the company, and Don fires him. And somebody wrote a comment like, "Ooh, I hope he doesn't go and do anything drastic after it." What a great character. like English and repressed it, a little bit like stereotyping. I don't know. I think he goes here into I Have Ideas. Meredith. Oh, I like Meredith. Meredith, I think, is the only secretary, maybe apart from, no, not even her. I thought the secretary who like ran over someone's leg is like this, but that secretary was like hitting on Salvatore, didn't she? And Meredith is the only secretary on the show that is not linked to any man in the office, and still she is her own character. She goes into switchboard operators, but she is a little bit more than that, I think. She is very well written character. And there are people like Meredith in real life, I think. Stan. What a crush, Stan. What a good choice for Peggy. Should we put him into corner office? Just because like he is for Peggy, like what maybe Betty is for Don, or Rachel even is for Don in some way, don't you think? So he's like the main love interest, the most like the deepest love interest for one of the main characters. Okay, let's put him into corner office. Yeah, I feel okay about it. Well, Don. The whole show is about Don. Don is like, I suppose, isn't Don like supposed to be a father figure? Not father figure, but like people like Don are the fathers of people like Matthew Weiner, as in generationally. I think I read this somewhere. So basically, Matthew Weiner wrote a show about his parents' generation. Yeah. So isn't Don like what men of this generation imagined their fathers were, or dreamt their fathers were, or feared their fathers were? I don't know, something like this. Yeah, Heinz of Hilton. Okay, the artist. Again, I think she exists only to show more artsy side of Dawn. Maybe to showcase that advertisement is not as creative as you might think. She has this like storyline that goes down, herring. That's definitely some comment on the era, yeah, and what was going down, hippie culture. I think she goes into switchboard operators. All right, who is this? Oh, it's Anna. I have thoughts on Anna. Anna is not a character. Anna is a placeholder. Anna just exists to provide Don some sort of family. I don't believe it. I don't believe that he's like war captain's wife would feel like that. It's too lucky. Like she happened to just kind of hate her husband because he liked her sister but married her. And so she's like, oh, okay, you switched places with my husband. I will like you like a son. It's a bad character. I'm sorry, but it's not a good character. I will put her into not great book. Glenn. Oh, Mad Men Reddit loves to hate Glenn, don't they? I love Glenn. Glenn is weird, but who's not weird? We are all weird. I'm putting Glenn here. Glenn is miniature Don. That's it. I'm not going to comment anything. Doug. Oh my god, I don't know what to do with Doug. Actually, you know what? Kind of like Don's women every time shows something about a period of his life. Peggy's men show something about her growing up in the career ladder. Yeah, she starts sleeping with Doug just because it's what she thinks women do. Yeah, she has to like be with someone from the office or from the advertising world. In this way, Doug is kind of important for the show. And to be honest, unusual. He's an interesting character. You might be surprised, but I will put. I'm debating between corner office or I Have Ideas. Doug. What do we feel about Doug? I'll put Doug here. Okay. Peggy. Peggy goes into Heinz of Hilton. Although we should note, Peggy has less character development than Joanne. With Peggy, we kind of know what's going to happen, don't you think? With Joanne, it's much more unexpected. Peggy is expected between first season and last season. Maybe not expected, but more of a cliche, yeah, like a secretary who grows through career ladder steps and becomes a boss. She doesn't become boss, by the way. She gets eaten up by McCann, yeah, like everyone else. Like Dawn will eventually, I think. But Joanne is so unexpected, and her line, her arches that lead her to where she is in the finale are like much more interesting. That is what has to be said. This guy. Okay, Heinz of Hilton. I can say the same about Pete and Dawn, actually, as about Peggy and Joanne. Joanne is definitely less of a main character. This show is about Dawn and Peggy. Joanne is like B character in terms of like the main characters. but she has more interesting storyline and arch than Peggy. The same goes with Pete. Pete starts out like wannabe Don, but he really finds himself, doesn't he? And I just heard somewhere today that Pete is the only man on Mad Men who gets his wife back, like for real. And I think it's the best love story, honestly. Realistically, it's the best and most realistic and endearing love stories on the show. Pete and Trudy and their dance. Wow. Oh, this girl, Seagull, Jane Seagull. Okay, she's a character development for Roger. Poor Roger blew up his life. Even though it seems like in every situation, yeah, Roger can find his way. So, in this case, I'm not sure. Does it make her more interesting or less interesting? That actually maybe she's not as important in Roger's life and in his story than I thought before. I don't know. I think it makes her less important. I think she could be replaced. Yeah, I just realized she definitely could be replaced. Is she less important than this girlie? Yeah. Faye. Okay, I know there are some fans of Faye out there. I have a friend who really likes Faye, but oh, Faye is so boring. Like, I don't know. Don't you want to like nap when she's on the screen? I want. Like, I'm sleepy right now. Oh, if I'm honest, she's just like something that it's like like Rachel is utopia for Dawn, but Faye is like normal life utopia for Dawn. They could have been like normal New York couple. She don't you think she was trying so hard to be not boring? And this makes her even more boring. Be boring, guys. Be boring. It's the only way to be. If you are boring, be yourself. It makes you more interesting. Cooper. I love Cooper. There are no characters like Cooper. Cooper's dance is incredible. Cooper is the whole era. Cooper is larger than life. Cooper goes here. Ted. Oh, Ted. I don't know. Some people like Ted more than Don. I think they are crazy. So Ted, for me, goes into. It's hard to say. He's one of those Don's alter egos. He's like the understudy, like the lowest understudy. Glenn and Michael carry all the weight for being like a little bit Don. And Pete, of course. Pete is so much Don that he's the whole other person. So Ted, I'll put him into switchboard operators. Dawn. Dawn is interesting. Of course, Dawn is there to showcase a little bit of a racial things. I really like the scene where Peggy takes her in for a night, and then they both look at Peggy's purse or something on the table. Unlike Salvatore Romano, I think she has a character. She is her own person. Let's put her here. Okay. Bob. Wow, Bob. Another alter ego for Dawn. It's like what would happen if Dawn chose a different path. Dawn was don't you think that when Dawn was a salesman for fur coats, he has this energy like Bob has? Bob is great. Honestly, Bob should be here in the corner office. If not here. Not here, but here. Bobby. One of my favorite scenes is when, remember when Dawn spends a whole day with Bobby and he kind of understands that he loves him, that Dawn loves Bobby. And then in the evening, Bobby can't sleep and Dawn says, "What are you worrying about?" And it's after Martin Luther King was shot, and Bobby is like, "What if Henry gets shot?" Oh, poor Dawn. And what a great father, Henry. Bobby is just to provide some storylines where Dawn kind of yearns to be a good father, but ultimately doesn't have it in him. Hilton. I don't know, I hated Hilton for some reason. Could be replaced, ironically. Is there something as huge as Hilton at the time? I'm not sure, but maybe they could have found something like Procter and Gamble. Did it exist at the time? Or something in that manner. This is an interesting character, Lou, but could be replaced. Sally, wow, Sally is a Heinz of Hilton. Like, what a great actress! What an amazing, so lucky casting choice, and how much she has to play in. She's in so many storylines with Dawn, and with Betty, and with Glenn, and in an office, and at home. And when she's at the boarding school, okay, Trudy. I feel like we should all be Trudy, yeah? We should all be Trudy and we should all marry Henrys. That's how ideal world is. Trudy is going into corner office. My hand put her into Heinz Hilton. No, she goes into corner office. That's it. Do you guys agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you want to fight me? Please do it in the comments. See you in the next one.